Greetings, my name is Louise Dente and I welcome you to yet another edition of Cultural Caravan. On this edition is a special as we recognize the work of the great Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we're joined by two distinguished guests. We're joined by, to my right, my far right, Brother President General Michael R. Duncan. He is a businessman, community leader, and he is the 10th successor to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And next to him, he's joined by the High Chancellor, Raymond Dugue. He is also a business leader or a community member, and both men are leaders in our community who will share with us unique insight on the life legacy of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Welcome to Cultural Caravan.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and you know, I'm just very excited about the work that you're doing. But let's start by just giving our audience a foundation. For those who may not know, or who was Marcus Mosiah Garvey? You want to take over?
Basically, the founder of modern Pan-Africanism, who gave us as African a sense of pride. Actually selling us to ourselves, letting we know for sure that the black skin is not a badge of shame, but a glorious symbol of national greatness. Raymond?
To put it succinctly, Mr. Garvey is the world's greatest organizer. What he did single-handedly, once he asked himself that major question as he was traveling from England back to Jamaica, you know, this is a man who had been born in Jamaica, had visited Costa Rica, went to Panama, went to Bolivia, went to Nicaragua, went to Honduras, went to Costa Rica, then he had visited the European continent. And what he realized is that we're at the bottom. There's no place that we were not at the bottom. So as he was traveling back from England back to Jamaica, he asked himself the very pointed question, where is the black man's king and kingdom? Where is his president? Where is his army, navy, and men of big affairs? And he said, I don't see them, but I will help you to create it. Now, 100 years later, we're still asking that same questions. You know, we may have some countries that are so-called liberated, independent, but in the end, we exist to serve their interests. So it's not so much the great movement, it's the necessity. Nothing has changed in 100 years. And that's why we're committed to fulfilling that dream, because, you know, there are two components of Garvey and Garveyism. Racial uplift, self-reliance, and then ultimately you will get to nationhood, and that's what we're hoping to get done.
Now, when you first started or understood the need, okay, what was the reaction to people to your vision to resurrect the movement?
First, you have to realize that this system here demonized Marcus Garvey. They had to demonize him because it is the only platform that millions of us had organized under. And this system wanted to make sure that so many black people never organized under one banner anymore. So they demonized, says Marcus Garvey, told us a lot of negative things about him. And you know, if you tell a lie long enough, people start believing it. And a whole lot of us would believe that Mr. Garvey was a criminal, was a this. So sometimes when we meet people, some people would have that negative effect. But as we teach Garvey and Garveyism, the people are realizing that this is something good. This brother organized over 11 million of us across the world, over 1,100 branches. And if you want to go further, if you listen to says Martin Luther King, but he made it clear that he was the first African to give us a sense of pride. Malcolm X says, you know, special thanks and praise must be given to this prophet. If it weren't for him, you would not have seen a king. You would not have seen an X. So we're at this point now to say that truth crushed to the earth must rise again, and our people, our children, need Garvey and Garveyism, because it was that system that took us out of that prior system of slavery and brought us here in this region at this time.
Now, you mentioned about the need, and as you know, not too much has changed. You know, of course, you know, we have more opportunities, there's integration, there were a lot of changes societal-wise. But if you look at, and I just want you both, in this case, Brother High Chancellor, to talk about internationally, we talk about globally as well as here in the U.S., have conditions changed?
To be honest with you, Sister Louise, and I'm going to be brutal on this, no, it hasn't changed. I mean, on the face of it, the aesthetics, where we have so-called independent countries, but we exist to serve their interests. There's really no place on the planet that we as Africans can say proudly that we control, we dominate, we build, we develop. Because at the end of the day, everything that we say and do is dependent upon others. I mean, classic example. Look at something like airplanes, cars. Do we do anything? Let's talk about military. Which weapons do we build and create? There's really nothing. And just think this through. What if, let's say, others decided they wanted to eliminate us or wanted to put us back into chattel slavery? Is there an organization, is there an entity that will come and defend us? And this is what Mr. Garvey created. He realized there's no place on the planet where we as Africans control our destiny, because we need somebody to stand for us. And he said, instead of looking at it as petty nationalism, like, you know, I'm from the US or I'm from Jamaica, I'm from Haiti, he said, no, look at it as race first. You know, when you embrace one God, one name, one destiny, you roll all of that into race first, and because everyone else does it. Everyone else does, and this is how they succeed. So why don't we do that?
Yeah, sister, I'd like to add to that. Sister, 100 years ago, Mr. Garvey traveled the world, wherever we lived, and he saw the plight, the condition of our people, what they were in. Sister, for the last 10 years, I've been traveling the world, be it Cape Town, be it in Cote d'Ivoire, be it in Accra, Monrovia, Kingston, Maypen, Atlanta. Black people were in the same position. Integration came, and that was the worst thing for us, because it took away the gain we made from the 1920s until the 1940s. So, to be exact, I haven't seen where things have really changed for us. We don't control anything. We don't build anything. So I can't see where we're in a better position today.
Let's say we can go to the best schools. We go to the best schools to do what? To create wealth for others. We don't go to school to create wealth for us. Now, a lot of people confuse entrepreneurship with self-reliance. A lot of us engage in entrepreneurship. Self-reliance is when you build for the masses, where you control your destiny. You're not building for any individual wealth, individual greatness. You're building to uplift all of us together. But see, and this is the beauty of these systems, where you are led to believe you actually are progressing. But overall, look at the conditions of our people. Now, would you believe, of all the Africans on the planet, we're the best off in these United States? For the attacks that happened to us, the way we're brutalized, the way we're denied due process, the way we're denied education, but we're the best off, we're the richest on the planet. So what does that say for the rest of us? So no, we have a solemn obligation to work towards the upliftment of this noble race.
In 1914, on a trip from London, England to Kingston, Jamaica, Mr. Garvey asked those profound question: where's the black man king and his kingdom? Where is people of high places? Sister, we're doing so well. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Where are our banks? Where are our supermarkets? We don't have them. We don't have them. In Southeast Queens, where we are sitting right now, based on per capita income, based on these 51 council districts in New York City, we are the 4th richest. But it doesn't show in the business we own. It doesn't show up in the sanitation services we receive. It doesn't show in the educational institution. So are we really better off?
In fact, let me add, it has to be that we are at the bottom. It's almost as if this system cannot exist unless we are denied citizenship, unless we're denied rights, unless the whole concept of Africa and Africanity is denigrated. So even when we succeed, so-called, we succeed at the price of giving up our Africanness.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm thinking, as you said, there are people out there, and and I'm talking about some of the old soldiers and soldierettes who'll say, we've had movements before. What makes this movement, in this case, the resurrection of and we say, for those who need to know, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, what makes this resurrection different? What is the difference between what may have been and what may not have succeed and what is going on right now?
Let me answer that, and then the President General will complete it.
Mm-hmm.
We wave a flag, the so-called black nationalist flag, the Pan-Africanist flag, the Kwanzaa colors of the candles, red, black, and green. Where does that start from? Those are the colors of the African race, as agreed upon on August 13, 1920, at the first International Convention of the Black People of the Planet. That was the UNIA. Meaning, there's not much that has not been created that was not done by the UNIA. But more importantly than that, and by the way, that's Article 39 of the Declaration of the Rights of our people from August 13, 1920. But let's talk about economics. A lot of us are aware that Mr. Garvey and the UNIA started the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation and the Negro Factories Corporation. Mr. Garvey was able to raise money to buy not one, not two, three ships. The first ship he ever bought, the SS Yarmouth, which was later rechristened the SS Frederick Douglass, he bought that cash. No IOU, no mortgage, no loan, cash. $165,000 cash. In 1919, if you use a 5% cost of living adjustment, that $165,000 then, can you believe it, is worth $18.7 million in today's dollars. What Mr. Garvey and the UNIA did was they demonstrated to the world the whole bankrupt notion that others could generate economics. Only the UNIA has ever done that. UNIA had hotels, had schools, had auto fleet, had laundromats, had dry cleaners. In fact, in New York City, the big commotion was when you went downtown Manhattan to look for a job. If you're black, the employers downtown Manhattan will tell you, we don't have a job for you. Go uptown, go up to Harlem. Garvey's got all the jobs. Garvey had a humongous operation. You name it, hat making, shoe making, everything. So it wasn't just, the sentiment of Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. It was a total solution. Because when you look at yourself as a nation, where everything is, you think big, you think global. So the whole concept, and then after he does the Black Star Line, he does the Negro Factories Corporation. Because he actually thought this through. First, you build the ships to have transportation. But then once you have the transportation, you've got to transport commodities and items. So you do the Negro Factories Corporation. He actually thought this through. This was an excellent plan. So it's not just we're resurrecting it, because that's the only thing that's ever worked. It's the only, the Negro World newspaper, the finest newspaper ever written, was outright banned in the English colonies because that itself could liberate people.
Sister, we were brought in this country 400 years ago. We went through slavery. We built this country with no compensation for it. We went through another stage, sharecropping, more of the same. Never worked for us. In the early 1900s, first and only time we see Garvey and Garveyism, we start to develop a sense of pride. One sister say, I feel, being a part of the Garvey movement, I feel like I own half of the world, and I didn't own the next half because I didn't want it. Garvey and Garveyism came and it worked for us, not only socially, culturally, or politically, but economically. The first and only time. Mr. Garvey stayed here until 1940s. From the 1940s until 1966, Carlos Cooks took the mantle of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey economically, and it worked for us. All the brothers and sisters who have came along since, they have done a wonderful job. And I thank them for teaching. I thank them for preserving and passing our culture to us. But what has been lacking is the not educational, but the economics that really worked for it. Work for us big time. We're saying is that we're in another stage of our life. Here, we must bring back the economics. So what these people in the last 40 years have not done is to make an economic inroads where we can pay for ourselves, where we don't have to beg the system that doesn't care for us. So what we're saying now, we're bringing the economic message. Everybody understands the economic message that work. It was that message where people feel a sense of pride, where people start owning a piece of the Black Star Liner. They start owning a piece of the Factory Workers Corporation. But all we have done is took what people invested back that time and we brought it in today's world and say, let's create an economic empire for ourselves. This empire start with the rock. We're not just Mr. Dugue and I, two entrepreneurs who want to build wealth for ourselves, but we're trying to build, we're building a self-reliant economic system that based in race first. I don't have a problem with any other people who are looking out for their benefits. I'm saying our objective right now is to look out for our benefit. We want to stop the dollars when it is spent at 9 a.m. from leaving our communities at 5 p.m. And that's the difference we are bringing, an economic system that our people can benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you both for articulating that. And now just moving to today, and you mentioned it. Now, you've started, first of all, I'm going to ask you two questions. What has been the response to the movement, UNIA today? And what are some of the projects of which you've mentioned, and so people can understand what you're doing, that you're actually doing some concrete things in the spirit of the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey? Who would like to answer that?
Every system, every society is based on three pillars: culture, economics, and politics. You need culture because it's the way you express yourself. It's how you connect with everyone. You need politics because the politics plays the important role of distributing the funds and controlling what goes on in a community. However, those two cannot exist without the economics. And this is the big message that Mr. Garvey brought. He said, economics must rule the day. Now, when he says economics, he's not talking about one or two entrepreneurs making money, doing for themselves well. He's talking about self-reliance where all of us gain and put a foothold there. So now, to respond to your question, what has been the response? Well, let me say this. What has the UNIA been doing recently? The UNIA operates a soccer program. Believe it or not, the Rosedale Soccer Club. The UNIA is on the radio with the community-focused radio show, and that is strictly economics because we use the proceeds from the restaurants that we are engaged in. But the biggest thing that the UNIA is involved in is what we call the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corp. We initiated that in March of 2016 at the Schomburg. And I know, Sister Louise, you were an attendee, and I know you were I know you brought your teenage son, because I met him that day, and I thank you very much for bringing him. We launched it where we said, guess what? What would Mr. Garvey do now? A lot of times we beg, we protest, we denounce. And that's not to say it's not important, but we still need to control and develop the economies. Everybody, let's take, for example, New York City. Every community that is strong in New York City is because they control the economies of their communities. In our communities, as the President General rightly asked, where are the supermarkets? Where are the financial institutions? Every other communities, they control their business. In our communities, we actually do not. Other people control the businesses. That's how we're going to rebuild our nation. When we say our nation, our community, by controlling the economics. Now, how do you do that? Pool your resources. How was Mr. Garvey able to get all of these monies to buy not one, not two, not three ships, and then build all of these businesses? Believe it or not, Sister Louise, we have the money. We have it as black people in these United States. We just don't know it. We're poorly organized. So we pull our resources. We establish what we call the ROC, the Restaurant Owners Corp, where what we said to ourselves is all of these restaurants, and there are a lot of black restaurants in New York City, they spend between $8,000 and $20,000 per week on dry goods, meats, fish, produce, and vegetables. Two questions you've got to ask yourself. Number one, where are they getting this money from? Where? Only from the people, us. We support and patronize these restaurants. So if they're in business, they're funding it, and they must get that money from us. So the second question is, gee, if we're spending all that type of money, $8,000 to $20,000, let's assume $10,000 per week, let's assume 100 restaurants, and let's assume 52 weeks. That's $52 million. It's being spent, so we have it. So why don't we pull these resources, control ourselves, eliminate the middleman, and create wealth for our benefit, create employment. This way we increase the capacity of our community. That's exactly what we've done. President General?
To answer your question, people response. Were you at the Schomburg?
Oh, yes, I was.
When I asked for investors to come on stage to invest their money, not forcing them, what you thought of that?
Well, it was a beautiful event. I mean, I remember it was, first of all, the house was packed. I mean, it was standing room only. You know, people from all over the community came. You asked people to come to the stage, and certainly you asked for one month, but I mean, people came in droves. It was like everyone knew it was like a stand. It wasn't just they weren't making a commitment for themselves. It was like they were making this commitment for their families, for their children. So just the energy in the room, and that was just tremendous. And then, as you said, I had the opportunity to go and to actually go to visit FACA, the headquarters, and just to see what you took from that afternoon till now to have this warehouse filled with this, that employs people within the community, that provides various businesses with, as well as individuals, with food and produce that they could, you know, get right in the community. It definitely is an example of what Garvey's, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey's vision is. So I just wanted to.
President General, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did we create anything new?
No. All we did is to follow the black prints that were laid out specifically for us. And since that evening, that's the type of responses we have been getting. Whether it's in Atlanta, whether it's in Chicago, Kingston, or Liberia, in Haiti, that's the type of responses we have been getting, because our people are looking for a better tomorrow, and we are presenting that to them, where they can be a part of a better tomorrow, not just for me, but for all of us. And that's what we are bringing, and our people are feeling it. They have been looking for this for the longest time, and it's amazing. Some people had said when we started, if you get X amount of black people to invest $50,000 together, you'd be lucky. Sister, we have done that over and over and over. So that's the type of responses we have been getting. Thank you.
Wow. Well, I was going to say we're going to actually hold it. We're going to revisit this again in part 2. But I just want you to give a phone number. If anyone who's interested in finding out more information on this part, can you please share a number?
Sure. If anyone would like to get together with us to discuss UNIA, you can reach me at 718 718-570-7350. Again, 718-570-7350. And The Rock, the Restaurant Owners Corp., it's located at 13205 Merrick Boulevard. However, it's inside of Belknap Street. Again, 13205 Merrick Boulevard, inside of Belknap Street, Jamaica, New York, 11434. Again, the phone number, please call me 24/7, 718-570-7350.
All right. Well, again, on that note, I want to thank you both for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on part 2 of this discussion about the legacy of the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey here today. Thank you both. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast, and we continue to encourage you to tune in, to write, and to tell a friend. And please visit our website at www.ccptv.org. But until next time, Louise Dente saying thank you. Let's welcome Joe Patan.
They jumping in the city, West Indian happy, happy whole time, forever day. I tell you, no, no.